Good morning, everyone. Bon matin à tous. Thank you for joining us. Merci d'être parmi nous aujourd'hui. My name is Kina Leclerc and I will be your moderator. Je m'appelle Kina Leclerc et je serai l'animatrice de ce point de presse. Before we begin, a quick reminder to place your phone on mute until I invite you to speak or to ask your question. And please do not place the call on hold. Available for questions from the media, we have, disponible pour répondre aux questions des médias, nous accueillons, in council chambers, Mayor, le maire, Jim Watson, Steve Kanellakos, City Manager, Directeur Municipal, and Anthony DiMonte, General Manager of Emergency and Protective Services, Directeur Général des Services de Protection et d'Urgence. Phoning in today, we have Councillor Keith Egli, Chair, Ottawa Public Health Board, le conseiller Keith Egli, Président du Conseil de santé d'Ottawa, Dr. Vera Etches, Chief Medical Officer of Health, médecin-chef en santé publique. I will now invite each agency to ask their question. You may ask one question with one follow-up. Par ordre alphabétique, j'invite maintenant chaque organisme à poser une question et une question de suivi. If for some reason we lose you during the call, please try logging in again or contact Media Relations to submit your questions. So we will now begin with Joanne Chianello at CBC Ottawa.
Thank you, Kina. My question is for the mayor. Mayor Watson, why did you sort of shut down Councillor Leeper's request for more immediate updates on the LRT derailments, as well as this is the first time we're hearing about you since the derailment on Sunday. Your comments on the information we're hearing that, you know, it was derailed and went on for 400 to 500 meters. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne. Well, the number one priority I have is to fix the system, stabilize the system, and grow the system. I believe that our staff's, the best use of our staff time is not preparing for a meeting every 2 weeks, but actually getting to the root cause of the problems so that we can bring a reliable system to the people of Ottawa. So I don't support never-ending meetings, which quite frankly may be good political theater, but quite frankly our staff need to spend their scarce time resources on fixing the problem first and foremost. And as you know, preparing for these meetings is a fairly onerous task. You have to get everything together. The staff have to go across staff lines to get the material translated. And I'm quite satisfied that we provide as much information as we have in a timely fashion in between meetings. And we've done that through Mr. Manconi's communications with the transit commissioners, the media, and the general public. Thank you.
En français, s'il vous plaît, Monsieur le maire.
In French, please. Yes. I don't think we need to have a meeting every other week. The priority for me is to correct the problem in the system, in pushing the private company, despite the situation for the residents, in acting. We don't need to hold 5 or 6 other meetings. We have a communication system in between the meetings on transit, and I think that's sufficient, and it works very well. Thank you.
All right, can I have my follow-up? Is that okay?
Yep, go ahead.
Great. And my follow-up, I guess it's for, well, whoever, I think it's Mr. Kanellakos, but if Mayor, you want to weigh in as well. When do you think, when did city officials first become aware of where the derailment may have started? We know the train stopped between Tremblay and Herdman, but we didn't really hear Monday where it started, although we saw photos of debris in the station, a cracked concrete tie. So can you give me some idea of when city officials knew that the derailment had occurred, maybe 400 to 500 meters before it stopped? Thanks so much.
Thanks, Joanne. John Manconi's actually in the room, so I'll pass that on to him.
So we don't know exactly where this occurred. As you know, we clarified what the TSB released yesterday, and as a matter of fact, I had a very lengthy discussion with the lead investigator from TSB. And the statement that they put out, there is a qualifier on it when you look at that documentation. That is their initial assessment of it. That's not to say it's right or wrong. It's just it's their initial assessment of it. And as TSB told me last night, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to determine exactly what occurred, where it occurred. I can tell you there are discussions that are ongoing as to where the derailment occurred. And right now, what our job is to give TSB every single piece of input into the puzzle, including video footages of on the cameras at the stations, what the operator witnessed and did, and so forth. And a reminder that those vehicles are a wealth of data points. Hence the very structured process for getting that vehicle back to the yard, which is underway right now, and it's going to start moving back to the yard shortly. We don't have access to the data there. That's under the control of the TSB. And once it gets to the maintenance storage facility, they'll start to look at other inputs into the process. And, Mr. Johnson, who I know very well and is a very experienced TSB inspector, has said that, we need to be patient and let the investigation do its work to determine exactly what occurred, where things occurred. And I can tell you, for example, I saw some of the video footage. I can't tell you where it derailed. Nor can my rail experts that have been operating trains for a very long time and so forth, our control room supervisor and so forth. So, Joanne, I'd love to give you a direct answer as to where exactly it occurred and didn't or did not. I don't have that information. And what we have right now is what TSB has put as their initial observations. And again, I echo what the TSB has said over and over again. They need to let the assessment and the various investigations unfold.
Can I just get a clarification? I know I already had my two questions, but just because TSB did put out that statement, and I know, John, you can't speak for TSB, so I recognize that, but I'm just wondering why they would say it has derailed on its way into the station and put that up on their website. Are you saying they have information that the city doesn't? I'm just wanting to clarify where that statement is coming from if you're saying you guys don't know. Thanks again.
Yeah, no, and I understand, the TSB process is a very rigorous, structured process that has very specific steps to it. That is Mr. Johnson's first set of observations as to what has occurred, and it gets posted on that report portal. And those are his views of what he saw in the field. And as he's described to me in the investigation process, they then start to do a methodical review of all the pieces of the puzzle to determine what occurred. And, I go back to the unfortunate double-decker accident that occurred at the rail crossing. You'll recall at the beginning of that accident, there was many, many theories about, was it sunlight? Was it driver error? Did they try to run the gates and so forth? I understand and respect there's a lot of people want information. I cannot speak on behalf of the TSB, and we need TSB to do their work. They have some of the world's best investigators, and we have to be patient with the process. I've seen the request from some councillors about release of information. Our legal team is talking to the TSB about what we can and cannot release. And I can never speak on behalf of the TSB, but I'm going to rely on the professionals to tell us what occurred. And I was very clear with Mr. Johnson yesterday. I will always depend on their expertise to share with council when we have definitive answers versus just input into the process of the investigation.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we will go to Alex Gouge at City News Ottawa.
Hello, my question is for Mayor Watson today. So with the introduction of the motion with you and Hubley for free transit in December, Sarah Wright Gilbert previously endorsed having a free month of transit earlier in the year. Why is the situation different now?
Well, obviously, Alex, as a result of the train derailment, this has caused great inconvenience and frustration for our passengers. And this was an opportunity for OC Transpo and the City of Ottawa to offer no-charge service in the month of December. We feel the month of December makes the most sense because the system, we believe, will be up and running and stabilized, and it will also help the local retail sector in different parts of the city recover from the lack of business due to COVID-19. So the timing, I think, makes good sense. And I hope that members of council support this motion that Councillor Hubley and I put forward at next council meeting. Thank you.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
In French, please. Yes, of course. We decided to work with the City of Ottawa and OC Transpo to offer 1 month of free transit service for OC Transpo passengers, because it's a good opportunity for us to recognize that this situation was unacceptable for our passengers. And also we picked December because it's a good opportunity to help the small and medium businesses during the Christmas time.
Alex, do you have a follow-up?
No, that's my only question for today.
Okay, moving on, we will go to Ted Raymond at CTV Ottawa.
Hi there. Thanks, everyone. My first question is for Mayor Watson. You said in your interview last night with Graham Richardson that you're frustrated, you're angry, you're let down by RTG, RTM. You said they have to get their act together after this last derailment. But you've said similar things before about this system when it was having other problems. How many more chances are they going to get? I mean, how many more times can you say that you're frustrated, disappointed? At what point does the city need to look at seriously walking away from this contract?
Well, more importantly, it's the public that I'm concerned about that are frustrated and angry and disillusioned with the performance to date. I think you have to put it in context to a certain degree. We had about a year and a bit of really good service, and then the last 6 weeks we've had really bad, unreliable service, and to the point that we have no service on the train tracks right now. So we're going to be dealing with legal matters involving our partnership with RTG at the next FEDCO meeting, where we'll have an in-camera briefing session for all members of council to get our independent legal advice as to what options are available. But the primary objective I have right now is to fix the system and stabilize the system and grow the system. We have to rely on our legal team to continue to put pressure on the group, the consortium. And at the same time, our operations folks have to work with TSB to ensure that the tracks get cleared up and we can move the train and start making the repairs so we can get service back as quickly as possible, as safely as possible. Thank you.
Okay. And my follow-up question, just kind of jumping off Alex's question about your no-charge transit proposal for December. We're hearing from a lot of riders who have lost confidence in the system that this is not very much. You called it a small gesture yesterday. Would you be willing to extend this beyond December if things aren't up to your satisfaction?
Yeah, the reality is that we have to find the revenue to do that. And in this case, we found the revenue for the month of December because we're holding back the payments to RTG, who obviously have not lived up to their end of the contract. So, my view is that December made the most sense. The system, we believe, will be up and running and in better shape. And December was chosen because it also allows people to encourage them to go and shop local, particularly after COVID-19. And I hope that council supports our motion that Councillor Hubley and I put forward at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, nous allons continuer avec Julien Paquette, Le Droit.
Julien Paquette from Le Droit.
Oui, la première question, en fait, les deux questions vont être pour M. Watson. La première, je voulais avoir vos impressions concernant les avis de motion qui ont été déposés à la fin de la réunion par Catherine McKenney et Diane Deans. La demande d'une enquête publique sur tout le processus entourant l'octroi des contrats et la construction du train léger et aussi la demande de voir s'il est possible ou réaliste pour la ville de rompre le contrat. Donc, j'aimerais avoir vos commentaires sur ces propositions-là.
Oui, mais certainement la motion de cette membre du Conseil est très bon pour les
The motion today is a very good one for our counselors, our lawyers. We want to stabilize the situation with the light train. This is our main priority. We will possibly have another debate concerning the contract that was signed by the city about some years ago. For me right now, it's much more important to use the human resources and the other resources from the city to continue to improve the system for the passengers. Our passengers are frustrated. I am also. I do not believe that an inquiry will improve the light train system.
Parfait. Puis, sur un autre sujet, si vous me permettez, on a adopté des réglementations sur l'industrie du remorquage. J'aimerais avoir vos impressions un peu sur la politique qui a été adoptée et sur en fait, pourquoi c'était nécessaire de se pencher là-dessus, selon vous.
Needed to have a bylaw. We have a lot of problem with this sector, with the towing services. We have some issues with Highway 417. It looks like the Wild West right now. So I'm very happy today that the City of Ottawa adopted a policy, a sound policy, to avoid any types of conflicts and trying to protect consumers, imposing limits on prices, and some factors like that. Thank you.
We will now be going to John Willing at the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi, Kina. Thank you. This is a question first to Mr. Mayor Watson, but I'm happy to hear from Mr. Manconi or Mr. Kanellakis too. But I want to start with the court decision from this morning regarding the Westboro collision. The driver was just found not guilty. What do you tell people who might have been looking for accountability through the criminal court system for this tragedy? And are you confident in the safety of bus operations on the Transitway?
Well, obviously, I'll ask John to comment more specifically, John Manconi, John. Obviously, first and foremost, our thoughts are with the individuals in our community who lost loved ones at the bus crash at Westboro. The system is put in place, that charges were laid, and an individual has the right to appear before a court or jury of their peers, and the court has ruled that the bus driver is not guilty of all the charges. And I know that's undoubtedly going to be difficult for some members of the community to hear, but in fairness, that is the judicial process, and we have to support that. We may not like the decision, but we have to support it. This has obviously been stressful for the driver herself, as you can well imagine. But as I said, our first thoughts, of course, are with the family and friends of the 3 individuals who lost their lives on that tragic day in Westboro. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I too want to echo the families of those people that lost their lives and those that were injured. That's what's very important in all of this. And to the operator, a lot of stress for that operator. You know, we're all looking for answers and closures on these things. It's a difficult process. The safety of our operations, you know, we do 66 million kilometers on our buses a year, and that's something like 1,600 times around the world. We do have checks and balances for our operations, MTO audits. We just recently had a city audit go through our training program, and we've acted on all those recommendations. Our focus is safety, and also we released, as you know, some proactive measures on markings at stations and things like that came out of audits that we've done, all with a goal to enhance safety, which is a journey that you never end in terms of ensuring that you're always safe. So I fully obviously respect what's occurred today, and we move forward onto how we continue to enhance safety and provide safe operations on our buses and all our modes.
Thank you very much. Follow-up, turn to the vaccine passport issue. Mayor Watson, I know your mayoral colleague, Patrick Brown in Southern Ontario, has been pushing for more financial support to municipalities in light of possible enforcement costs coming from the vaccine passports. Do you think that cities should get more money from upper levels of government to pay for what might be more enforcement costs because bylaw and police might be responding to disputes at businesses?
I'll offer a comment, John, and then maybe Tony can offer some perspective in terms of what the anticipated costs are going to be. My understanding is that there are not going to be significant costs in terms of enforcement. As you know, I fully support the vaccine passport. I pulled out my sheet today and used it in a restaurant that I was in. So it's starting today. It's the law in Ontario, and I would, please urge residents to respect the law, and please be respectful of the individuals working in those industries that require them to ask you for your passport or your sheet that indicates you've been double vaccinated. A lot of these people at front counters are young people. It's their first job. And please don't go down the route of yelling and berating people who are just trying to do their job in difficult circumstances. Obviously, we'll keep track of costs as we have with every sector of the business, of the organization that we've been dealing with. And the province has always been very supportive of those costs, whether the increased costs of paramedics or public health. And to date, that has allowed us to balance our books in the last two budgets of this, and this upcoming budget rather. So, of course, if there are extraordinary extenuating costs, we'll be able to track them. But my hope is that we will not have to rely on bylaw coming to tell a grown man to stop yelling and berating an 18-year-old host or hostess at a restaurant or a gym. Tony?
Yeah, John, I'd like to also reiterate what the mayor just said. Let's not get in that circumstance. Let's not have bylaw having to intervene because we're berating some person just doing their job at the restaurant. That said, I think we have a very high vaccination rate in Ottawa compared to other communities. So perhaps that'll also, we're hoping that'll also diminish any confrontation in businesses. And we are tracking our costs. We don't expect to have a significant volume of calls related to this, but it's to be seen. The bylaw team is now looking at all the regulations and doing training sessions with their teams to be able to enforce where necessary. But I think the mayor's first statement is the most important. Let's continue doing what we've been doing in this community and adapt and do this in a civil way. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we will be going to Blair Crawford at the Ottawa Sun.
Well, my good friend just pulled the rug out from under me with his question, so I'll ask you something else. I just noticed maybe for Dr. Etches that Ottawa is now second in new COVID cases in the province today, I think with 54 behind Toronto. I just wonder if that causes you some concern and what your thoughts are on that.
Sorry, Blair, who are you asking? Is that Keith Eglis, Chair of Ottawa Public Health?
I thought Dr. Etches was on the call, but if Councillor Egli can answer, that's fine too.
Vera?
I am here, thank you, yes. So we are watching a large number of indicators that give us a sense of what's happening with COVID in our community. And you're right, the indicator of the number of people testing positive every day has gone up over the last 2 weeks. It's been rising, and it's true when we compare to Toronto, we haven't seen that same trend up there. We have had schools open for 2 weeks ahead of the Toronto area, and that is almost a little bit of a COVID detection system in some ways, because people are screening for symptoms and going for testing if they have COVID-like symptoms, more so when schools are open. So I think this can be part of what's behind it, that we're detecting more. Where I look to validate a rise in COVID in our community is to hospitalizations and wastewater. So the wastewater measures of COVID in the community did go up through September and are coming down again more recently. So it's been a little bit up and down actually since July with sort of push and pull. You know, as people get together, as they have more close contacts, we see greater transmission of COVID. As people are cautious and you know are careful about meeting outside, choosing lower risk activities, you know, the pressure on COVID transmission comes back down. So I would encourage people to continue choosing those lower risk activities. It does make a difference, you know, in terms of how much COVID's out there. And the hospitalizations are staying pretty stable. They've been below 9 or 10, around that level for a number of weeks now. And that's what we're trying to avoid is a real pressure on our hospitals, a rise in severe illness. And so far, you know, thanks to the people of Ottawa getting vaccinated and choosing carefully their activities, we are keeping things manageable.
Thank you. And as a follow-up question, I did see on social media this morning a parent complaining about difficulty getting her kid tested, that there were slots not available. Have you seen an increase in demand for testing, and are you satisfied that you can accommodate testing for kids in particular in a timely manner?
We have seen across all of the testing sites run by our partners that the demand is up, especially for children. And our testing partners have been making adjustments to be able to meet that demand. One thing that's been put in place is more support on weekends. So there's a third party at the McNabb Center now offering tests. And last weekend that was a drop-in, which again was not the best service sometimes, where a lineup can occur with a drop-in service. And so now that's moved to an appointment-based system. So it's another site where people can make appointments. We also know that the Montfort Hospital is going to add weekend hours at the Ray Friel site. So and then our partners are exploring different kinds of innovations, more of a do-it-yourself approach. If people come to the centers and there always is, you know, that ask that people book an appointment because that enables people to then know what the demand is and plan to meet that demand. But sometimes we're seeing actually even up to 25% of the time people aren't keeping those appointments. And so if people aren't able to make the appointment, we do recommend people cancel their booking to make room for others. And what Ottawa Public Health is working on is with schools to increase the take-home tests available to school communities. So it's 127 schools now where we do see people are using this service, taking home kits when they have symptoms. And we're really looking at ways to expand that, to have more uptake among people who may be named as high-risk contacts. So I think overall the message is yes, there is more demand for testing, and yes, the partners are implementing measures to meet that demand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Nous allons maintenant passer à Antoine Trépanier, Radio-Canada.
Antoine Trépanier, Radio-Canada. Good morning. My question is in French for Mr. Watson and Mr. Manconi regarding the decisions regarding Mrs. Diallo. The tribunal has made a decision, and what does it mean? What does it mean for the city? Well, I can start, and Mr. Manconi can follow. Of course, it's a very sad day for the 3 people who lost their lives as families. It's also difficult for the OC Transpo operator. We're thinking about the family members of Daniel, Judy, and Bruce, because it's a very difficult time for the families and friends of these 3 people, and also everyone who got injured in this tragedy in Westboro. Mr. Manconi will also answer the second part of your question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor said, it's a very difficult day for the whole city. And the affected families. Security of operations are very important. Our buses cover 66 million kilometers per year, so we have systems to follow to make sure that all operations are safe. And we've taken measure like the independent study that was done, and some changes were made for the safe operation of the bus on the transit way. Second question for you, Mr. Mayor, regarding the light rail train. The train has been in operation for 2 years now, and you've had many problems during those past 2 years. You said that the priority was to find a solution to these problems and that an inquiry was not to find a solution to this. So what can be a solution to these problems 2 years later? And do you think that the free service in December is a solution to these problems? The suggestion for the free service in December, that's it's a way of saying that we're not satisfied with the level of service for the population of Ottawa. But I believe in the system, but I must say that I don't have much now for the past 6 weeks, because we had about a year and a half with a very positive and reliable service. But in the last 6 weeks, it's totally unacceptable, because we're paying a lot of money for a system, and during this period, RTG is not providing a satisfactory service for all members of council and our staff. So this is why I had a meeting with all the officials of RTG and RTM and Alstrom to tell them in person that the Ottawa population is highly frustrated with the service from these three companies, and that they should improve the service right away. Thank you. If I may, I don't want to take too much time, but you said that some elements were giving you confidence in that trust, what you've seen in before the last 6 weeks. So why do you trust the system then? Well, for about a year and a half, we had a 98, 99% transit time that were right on. But for the past 6 weeks, it's not been the case. When the system was working fine for a year and a half, it was a very positive experience. But consistency with the level of service is also important. There's so much frustration right now amongst council members and staff members and mostly passengers. So we need to convince the population that after this problem, this derailment is settled, we need to find a way to get the public to trust the system, make them believe that the system is good and reliable. Thank you.
Going to Sue Sharing on the city from the burbs.
Thanks very much. This is for John Manconi. John, I'm just wondering, given all that's going on right now, how is it leaving the city at this point in time?
So, you know, I don't like to leave things unfinished. If I could, I'd stay here and help out any way I can. But what I've told numerous people, and I will, you know, I mentioned in my speech to the mayor, doing transformational work such as what we're doing here is very, very difficult. And you know, the last 6 weeks has been difficult with the rail service. We will turn the corner. I can assure you of that. Everything is fixable. These are massive, complex systems that go through a lot of challenges. I'm not at all suggesting that the last 6 weeks is acceptable in any way. We have a great team here. We have great leadership. We have passion and heart at all levels, around the council table, staff. We will. I can assure you that in my last final days, I will be putting every ounce of effort into doing what needs to be done. And, you know, I'll leave with one word. It's Alstom, Alstom, Alstom. They need to step up and get into Ottawa and bring an army of engineers. They build some of the best infrastructure or trains in the world. They can fix this. And that'll be a message they'll hear unrelentlessly from me till the day I leave. And if they step up, this can get fixed very quickly. And there's an army of people that believe in this city, working 24/7, committed to getting what needs to be done. And then I'm also very, very proud of where the city is going with the system that, yeah, it's difficult right now because you're in transition, but you're set for the future. You're the envy of cities around the world. I'm getting messages from my colleagues around North America and over in Europe about how great this will be, and that these are bumps on the journey that are very difficult right now for the community, but we'll get through it because there's thousands of dedicated people.
Thanks a lot and good luck. And I hope you're going to an easier job wherever that might be. My second question is to Jim Watson. Understandably, I agree. You didn't appreciate Diane Dean's suggesting we had a lemon, although I think that there are many in the public who wonder if that's true. I just was thinking you could offer me your thoughts on that.
Sorry, Sue, I didn't quite catch the beginning of it. Hello?
Sue, are you there? If you could repeat the first part of your question, please.
Yeah, sorry, you muted me. I know the mayor would sometimes like to do that. You understandably, I believe, you did not appreciate Diane Dean's suggestion that this is, we've got a lemon on our hands. Can you just offer me some of your thoughts about that?
Yeah, sorry, it cut off there, Sue. Yeah, no, listen, no one goes out and intentionally buys a lemon of anything, whether it's a car, a train set, a washing machine. We have, as John pointed out, we have, you know, these words are thrown around all the time, world class, but these companies actually are world class in the sense they've provided transit systems to, you know, dozens of countries around the world. Obviously, in our case, it's not world class, it's far from it. And, you know, I think while it's make it a headline to name call and make fun of the system, the fact is the system fundamentally is a very good system, and phase 2 will make it an even better system. The problem we need from our partners is consistency of delivering the product. For, you know, a year and a half, we had really good service, and people say, well, there was a pandemic and so on, there weren't that many people on it. Well, that doesn't matter. The number of people on it doesn't matter. The train was operating at close to 98, 99% reliability. We need to get back to that reliability on a consistent basis. We can't, you know, sort of go for a few months and then have another problem and then go for a few months. That will erode the public's confidence deeply in the system. And we have to regain their confidence because obviously, by and large, we've lost it because of the problems, the mechanical problems with the trains and with the system. So I still have confidence that it was the right decision. As you know, it was voted on unanimously. It's always easy to second guess, but I think it's the right system, the right route. And as I've said many times, Sue, when I'm on the system and when others are on it and it's working, it's a really great system. But we can't call it great when you have these serious malfunctions like we saw a week ago and 5 weeks ago. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes our media avail for today. Ceci conclut notre point de presse pour aujourd'hui. Hope everyone has a great day. Bonne journée.
Thanks. Good luck, John.